Hello and welcome to another episode of Just for Fun. This is Matt. Today we're going to talk about goblins because they're one of the more underappreciated tribes out there, and really they like to kill things. They're fun, they're fast, they can be quite destructive, and we're going to learn today about how to make lots of goblins in Pauper and eat your opponent for breakfast. Um, Unfortunately, Empty the Warrens was banned in Pauper, so we can't do that because that would be very easy. So we've gone a different route here with our token making deck. This is not the traditional Goblin aggro deck. That's very good, actually. It's a very solid, consistent, kind of plays out really well deck. That sort of got lost in the shuffle of things. Not too many people playing it at the moment. But this is my creation here that I like it because it's really fast. I've won on turn 2 with the deck. It's not likely, but it's possible. And turn 3 is fairly reasonable, and turn 4 is extremely easy. How does the deck work? Well, you play a bunch of goblins, and then you take advantage of completely busted cards in order to sort of go over the top with your goblins. And this can easily be adapted. Now, I just want to point out that this deck loses to a card in its own sideboard. So this card kills your whole deck. So, this is not a tournament viable deck, even though I was just saying how it's fast and it wins out of nowhere, which is so much fun. It's more of a just for fun deck at this point because this card completely kills you. Now, in my sideboard here, you see that I've got an answer to Electrickery and Goblin Caves, in order to just have a chance after sideboarding if you know the other guy's going to bring in some kind of sweeper. And it also makes it, like if you're planning on going into like a longer game, it's a pretty powerful effect. You can attack into bigger dudes this way and not worry about losing all your tokens so easily. So pretty good card. And I just threw in some other random stuff here. It's only 11. Again, not a tournament deck, so I'm not really going to waste too much time on the sideboard. So let's go to how the deck works. So we've got our lands here: 14 mountains, 4 great furnaces, 17 lands. Pretty low, but considering that there's no cards over 2 mana in the deck, and we're also playing 4 rituals that are excruciatingly powerful, this is sufficient lands. Why the great furnaces? Well, there's a little sub-theme here of card draw. So we got Great Furnace as an artifact land, Ichor Wellspring as an artifact that draws you a card, and if you kill it, it draws you another card. Chromatic Star as a card that if you kill it, it draws you a card. And Kuldotha Rebirth. So, oftentimes your opener will be Great Furnace, tap, play Kuldotha Rebirth, sack it, have no land and 3/1/1s on turn 1. And, for a slower deck, even a start like that is pretty hard to race, especially when you're following it up with other cards. So what else do we have here? So in the 1 mana slot, we have Foundry Street Denizen, which actually works really well with tokens, right? Getting a bunch of plus to its power every time you play a token spell. Speaking of which, there are 12 2-mana cards here that make 2 goblins for 2 mana. So you're spreading out, you're going wide, that's the plan. Dragon Fodder and Krenko's Command are exactly the same. War Marshal, obviously, 9 out of 10 you're not paying Echo with him because you just want 2 tokens and you don't care. And so the reason we're going wide is our kill is, I mean, of course, sometimes you just win by a beatdown plan, and sometimes you bushwhack. So if you have enough mana, you can dump a bunch of tokens and cast Bushwhacker on the same turn, give all of them haste and +1. If you ever get multiples of this guy, it's insane the amount of damage you can pump out. Um, just screwing around sandbagging once, I put like 60 power out there and crush the opponent. It's very possible to get a ton of power because of this guy. So how are we getting all the mana to do these things and be explosive? Brightstone Ritual. Add 1 mana, 1 red to your mana pool for each goblin on the battlefield. Like, seriously, this card is out of control. There's got to be more ways to break this card than what I'm doing. But for me, it's just like, well, let's just make a bunch of goblins and play it and have just ridiculous amounts of mana way earlier than we should. Uh, Leaves that to make more dudes or, kick Bushwhacker to give everybody haste. So what if opponent has a lot of blockers, and how do we finish our opponent? You see, we have no burn here, so there's not that much reach. Well, couple of bone splitters in case you want to make your tokens big and trade up with the tokens. That's fine. Sometimes the beatdown happens. Weapon Surge is in there kind of as Goblin Bushwhacker #5. Also, it's just like it's a card I never got to play in like Ravnica Limited or anything like that, and I don't know. It's just it's a fun of. It's a one of for fun, and adding first strike to everybody can sometimes lead to pretty sick blowouts. So for 2 mana, it's kind of worth it. Finally, War Strike. Um, Goblin War Strike deals damage equal to the number of goblins you control the target player. So yeah, between this and Ritual, just 2 old broken cards that they would never print nowadays that you can really take advantage of. If you get 2 of these in your hand, it's pretty likely you can do one and then another, and it just kills your opponent because you're gonna have. It's pretty common to have double-digit goblins in play. So, without further ado, I'll play out a couple of games. Again, we might get creamed here because there's it's easy to metagame against this deck, and a lot of the decks out there are not a good, are kind of an unfair matchup against this deck at this point. But it's fun, and maybe we'll surprise some people because this is legitimately a mat creation. I don't think I've ever seen this one out there. So let's give it a shot. Have some fun, right?